On a
But-
county highway.
on a
Isn't it
county
wider on
highway.
a county highway or not?
75 from center, they might be 125 on Old 52 if I remember right, because that used to be a state highway.
State highway.
And they required more of a right of way.
Is FSA roads any different?
70, it should be 75 and,
So
well.
the one going south there isn't pavement.
That I'm not 100% sure of, because when those federal aid
North is
gravel
pavement.
roads were township roads, there was 66 feet of right of way.
I was just gonna say that. Yep.
So I would assume that the right of way on a county federal aid gravel road is 66 feet, because that's what the township had.
Well, I mean,
But
And it would require more than that 66 feet and 75 feet?
The edge of the ditch, the edge of the back slope is probably beyond the 66 feet, so,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
the only way to do it without impinging on the adjacent landowner would be to run down the inslope of the road and load it on either a side dump or a tractor and scraper or something and haul it, and that, like I said, you would triple the cost, probably maybe even more, to haul
you
that all
think it's
the way.
a 3/4 of a mile though, the total job?
I
I would think.
that's, it may be more, maybe less, but, I
Right.
mean, I just, last fall, when I realized that there was nothing I could do, I quit, because I just
I know,
quit.
you have the laser, you know what's going on. I mean, I ain't gonna argue that. But I know somebody that will.
this is the situation that Boone and you and I dealt with last summer, and so there is some very hard feelings on the situation out there, especially across from Dave's driveway on our county highway, when we did the overlay on it so many years ago. But to me, the problem just doesn't lie within that first 300 feet. And his main concern was, and they're still upset about, the commissioner signing off on that 300 or 300 yards, whatever it is, that's along the county highway right away. And honestly, even if in his mind it was done right, we still have the problem for the 3/4 of a mile south of the highway, correct?
Or else, half mile, whatever.
Okay.
Nothing we do by his driveway is gonna be fixed without going
Correct.
downstream.
Right, because it's gotta go away.
Correct. So, I mean, the big beef with the people out there, with the commissioners, as we talked about ad nauseum, is that the commissioners signed off on that 300 yards that they didn't feel was right. But obviously, we're talking about a lot bigger problem than 300 yards.
The only commissioner that was here at the time was him.
Oh,
Or all new.
That's your
All
fault.
new.
I think it's your fault.
No, it ain't.
No, it's not, and it's not
And
Dennis's.
it's not your fault, we're not pointing the
Yeah,
finger,
we're not
you're the only
pointing-
one that was
we're
here.
not
is
pointing
what
the
I'm saying.
fingers at
Not
anybody.
the commissioners.
Correct.
And that should have been the
No, I ain't.
responsibility of your
Yeah, you are.
engineer.
No, we gotta get it fixed somehow.
Well, and if down the road is all, I'm sounding like a third grader here, but down the road is all flat, there's
Yeah.
nothing you can do about it.
Well, there's drop to the river. It can be fixed.
There's
No doubt it
problem.
can be fixed.
Cost.
Okay, but it isn't anything that man did to create the problem, was there?
Well, the ditches were.
Well, other than not addressing the issue when they put the new culvert through
The
the
new
east-west
culvert.
road and identifying there was a problem, they just put a new pipe in and,
And the pipe, so the pipe isn't deep enough.
in my opinion, no.
And when was that put in?
When they did the road
They
project.
redone the road project because they paved it, and it wasn't deep enough. That's where the whole thing kinda starts.
Yep.
I get it now.
Okay, well, it got discussed, but now we'll have to do something about it somehow, some way.
Welcome to our world.
I know.
It's always easy to
Is
find
it
a
the
problem.
commissioner's fault? Is it the, Waterboard, where do we go to fix this? How do we
The
fix
only
it?
thing you can do is try and get these guys to cooperate and get it fixed.
See,
Good luck.
Yeah.
most guys last fall would have just cleaned that stretch out from the county road to his driveway, and then you'd have had a moat. It would have filled in with water, and then he'd have been more angry that, oh, they didn't do the right job, they didn't do it right, so I chose to I'm just backing off.
Yeah.
There's no point in doing anything because I know it's not gonna work without more work, so.
Don't blame you, yeah.
No.
No, I understand that, but we gotta try to get some people to understand that and go ahead and fix the whole thing.
Might end up putting a pump in it to lift it. It's probably gonna be your cheapest route.
That would be cheaper then.
Yep. Lift it, put it in the culvert. Some of it'll run out on its own, the high water.
But it's gotta be clean to the south too.
Well, if you force it down there with a pump,
It's level south,
it is level all the way.
correct? Isn't it basically level?
Well, there'll be drop eventually, because the river is way down.
Right.
I don't know how far. I didn't check it, because didn't matter.
If you're forcing it, it'll go. If you're pumping it, it'll go.
Other than the culvert's gonna set full of water. The culvert right now holds 18 inches of water all the time in a new culvert. It never runs out.
I know one
In
thing,
the east-west road?
Yep.
Oh my, that's not gonna last long.
it's a tremendous headache that, thank you, Boone, for getting me involved in this. I can.
This has been ongoing for years, Brian, you know that.
I'm teasing you, big
I
guy.
know, but I'm tired of listening to it.
Well, you and me both.
I know.
Well, guys, we're not gonna settle anything right now, but
Right.
let's work on some options to what we gotta do.
Have them
Like
all
Boone
come in
said-
and talk about it, that's all you can do.
Well, like
Get a
Boone said, this is
psychologist
a big
in and-
step because we just had 15 minutes discussion on it.
I know.
Yeah.
And we ain't gonna solve nothing, so, but we're well aware of it, and I wanted to bring it up when Brian was here, because I knew he'd explain what he said, and it was good.
Sometimes people face to face makes a difference.
Yeah,
Right,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and that's what it might come down to, yeah.
yep.
Well, we're aware of it, let's,
Put it on the
use
agenda
Brent
for
got
something.
the handle on this, figure out some solutions.
Well, we got a handle on, figure out,
So you
Good luck
need to
with
define
that.
a problem, it's harder to
So,
come up with a solution.
back to where we were at, you guys are good with this?
Yeah,
Okay. Are you confident in the job that we're doing? Are we doing things correct?
Yes, I am, and I'm glad I'm finally getting some answers, because I've asked before, and there's been a lot of mystery. And now
Okay.
there's no mystery. Thank you.
So we're done with
You're
the
never-
crap. We're backing each other now? Will
I'm
you have our
watching
back?
things.
Will you have our back?
Will I have your back?
Yes.
Now, I'm gonna ask you a question. You guys do know.
Yeah.
That whatever the water board does, if something goes wrong, we are responsible. Because it comes back to us because we appoint you. I don't know if you've read that or not, but I did research that. Just so you know.
Okay,
Well, I just want you to know.
So am I on
Not
trial
just-
here? That's what I wanna know.
I want you to know.
let him finish.
You say, I'm here for my constituents. That's great. But I am out there trying to defend this crap. And when I hear from your constituents that I'm trying to talk to you personally about certain things, but it keeps going back to the water board, and these people have told me, what is the beef? I said, I really don't know. I don't know.
I didn't either, and that's why
But
I
you
waited for
always
this
keep
mystery.
coming back around after, they always say it circles back, and the people I've talked to said, there's been times that I have talked to them about highway projects and stuff, and they said, he goes right back into the water board stuff. I said, well, I don't know what's going on. I have not received a call myself, and also with all this, people out there on the water board, you've heard the phrase, whiskey for drinking, water for fighting. People don't like the answers that they get. We have laws that we have to follow. And as you can see, we don't like the answers either. You can see that right there. We only get $500 for those permits. It's a kick in the rear end.
Was it your
But it's the
choice?
laws that we have to follow. We're not out here trying to make things worse for everyone else. We're trying to help people. But the biggest problem is people don't understand. And when they come to you, you don't understand. I don't understand some of it. But if you come directly to one of us and ask a question, we will try and get the answer. Communication, yes, is a big key. You said that. Communication,
Yes,
communication.
I did.
We've invited you to meetings.
I haven't
We
been
have
able
not
to
seen
come
you there yet.
Because I was sick and I had an addition to the family and I had to take care of things. My
Okay.
intention was to come and I will come, okay? Now,
All right.
I have people call me and ask me questions. You know what I tell them a lot of times? I said, call them guys. They said they won't answer their phone. I'm only telling you what I
Oh
hear.
my God.
I'm always here.
I have answered
I'm
my
like,
phone
everybody's
for
number.
everyone that has called.
So why are they telling me that?
Who's they?
You know,
People
that's,
call me.
Well, give me a name. We don't, the
I'm
water board
not
has a
throwing
po-
anybody under the bus
the water
here.
board has a policy, we don't deal in anonymous sources. We just don't. We just don't.
And you know, Brian, in the December meeting, if you go back and you watch the video, I explained all this attorney fees stuff works. The February meeting, you come back, and you don't understand it at all. From what the words you said in the February, I went back and I watched that stuff.
Yeah?
Because, you know, when you guys have a meeting, if it pertains to the water board, it comes back to me. You know,
Fine.
and that's fine. But go back and listen to the December meeting. It's, what is it? 39 minutes into the video. And watch that. I explained all that to you. The February meeting, at 26 minutes into the meeting, it's like you don't have any clue.
Well, what I understood was, when I asked you a question about legal fees, and you said, no taxpayers pay legal fees. Yet, in your budget, you've got $35,000.
Go back and listen to the video. I said anything that's inside an assessed drain, that goes to the assessed drain for legal fees. Anything outside of a assessed drain goes to the general fund.
Okay? So therefore, if you have someone in an assessed drain that needs a permit, does the assessed drain legal fee cover that?
No, because it's not a part of the assessment. And I don't know if that's an avenue that we can go, but it's something I'm going to ask our attorney. You know, because, well, some of these are in assessed drains, some of them are not. Obviously, the ones that aren't in an assessed drain, you can't assess that to, you know, that's all got to come out of the general fund. See, that's where the problem is with all these laws that we have to follow. You know, that dictates where we, you know, how we do things.
Well,
And even if it's in a drain, we'd have to reassess the whole drain, and then that's a huge cost.
and that's where a lot of this mystery has came in, and that's where I get asked a lot of questions. And so I'm trying to figure out, I'm trying to work the game both sides, because I want to know what is happening, okay? I'm sorry, it appears like I'm dumb, but you know what? Acting dumb once in a while gets you smart. I don't know if
Okay,
you
we
ever
Brian, I
figured
think
that out.
Brian-
We gotta move on. But
This
Brian,
one.
tell them this, I have never had trouble getting through to either one of them on the phone.
Well,
Never.
that's all I've been told.
Whoever's telling you that is not telling you
Have
the
them
truth.
come to
You
a
know,
meeting like
And
that.
you bring them with you.
And to answer your question, the county commission has the water board's back.
Yeah.
We do.
I believe you
Always
guys,
remember
You
that.
guys, we
I believe you
realize
guys
the job you guys have.
I believe you guys do. I'm just frustrated. And, I'll be the first to admit, when I got on the water board, I didn't agree with it. I didn't agree with having lawyers and stuff, but you sit on that board, that is unbelievable. And it's true. You can go, you could, I've been over to McHenry talking to guys, and they're on the water board, Mark Ressler, and he said, yeah, great guy. He says, I'm on the water board too. Whiskey's for drinking, water's for fighting. You can't get people to agree. And now we're trying to get people in to lower the costs so we don't have to spend all this on lawyers. Because it is. We don't like that. We want to try and solve it amicably.
I was in the same boat there, Devin, that, you gotta understand, yeah.
Yeah, these laws are changing. Oh my goodness.
Awesome.
It's unbelievable. And it is, and if we don't do the correct thing, it can cost this county a lot of money. A lot.
And we even have these people a handful of people that are disgruntled about drains. Down at the legislature, every year, how many legislators? We gotta change this law, change that law. Well, the legislature changes the law, or Supreme Court, whoever, you know, somebody decides that, oh no, this is the way it needs to be. Then they turn around, they got to come back in for a damn tile permit, and want to drain into the assessed drain, but they don't want to pay for it. That's the problem.
Well, look at our issue with this lousy ditch.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
same thing.
And
Yeah.
sometimes it is complex, and you need a lawyer. You
Yeah.
can't throw lawyers under the bus either, because
It's fun too.
there's just a lot of. I know.
But no, it's,
And our attorney is really good for us because if there's something that doesn't need his attention, he'll pawn it off onto, you know, a legal person or whatever, what do they call them? Paralegal. Or whatever. He chooses the cheapest route for us all the time. And, you know, so we're lucky. We're fortunate. A lot of attorneys probably aren't that way.
And there are guys out there that I've taken phone calls for, I've talked to, and I will tell them, I'm busy right now, but I will try and get an answer for you. I'll reach back to you. They come to the meeting, they talk, and they don't like the answer. And I'm sure they turn around and they probably call you guys. But they were there, they got the answer that legally had to be answered. And sometimes I don't like giving that answer, but it's a cold hard truth.
Well, in defense of Brian, there's times we don't get all the facts. People call and complain, we do not have all the facts.
Right.
And I ran into a situation with that too on the Waterboard, like a month ago. And in fact, the person lied to me and I'm just like,
Right, they'll twist the facts to their advantage, right.
Absolutely.
That happens a lot.
You gotta see through a lot of that.
We saw some of that yesterday at the township meeting about lousy job we're doing. What the hell? But anyway,
So, do you guys want us to come in?
It doesn't make any difference what board you serve on.
Yeah.
You guys know more about water than certainly than I do, and I would guess than any of these five guys. Okay? It doesn't matter, we could be talking about a school board, we could be talking about a, you know, township board, or whatever. Doesn't make any difference. Okay? There are gonna be people who don't understand, and there's gonna be people who don't want to understand. I would suspect the five people that are sitting here want to understand, but will probably never have the insight that you do just because you're on the board. You have more. But you don't have all the answers. That's why you have an attorney. Okay? And so we're never going to be at a place where there's somebody here in Wells County that knows all that needs to be known about this. So to me, it is being willing to answer your phone, to communicate, to get back to somebody, and to sometimes say, I have no idea. I'll have to look into that.
we're more comfortable discussing the whiskey than the water.
right. But it's a lot of the answers that are answered, I don't know, and I'll tell the people. I picked up my phone. I've had commissioners call me. I pick up the phone. We try and do what we can. It's a lot. There's a lot to know, and there's a lot of times I gotta call Larry because I gotta ask him what's going on, and then we gotta do it right. If we do it wrong, it can be a lot of money, and it's gone.
Our attorney fees are cheaper than a lawsuit.
Yes.
Well, you've got a group of really good people on your board, and we appreciate what you do.
And don't get me wrong, everyone needs to be checked once in a while. I'm not saying that we don't do things wrong. It's all right to check, but like Tammy, doors open, phones are on. I do answer them, but like I said, people they just don't like their answer sometimes.
So, do you guys want us to come in and give a presentation more often?
Well, we're gonna talk about doing this annually.
I think at least annually.
Okay.
Or for us, do you want more?
Well,
You just need to let us know.
you know, if there's issues that come up,
Or every
absolutely.
6 months, or a half a year deal.
Well, and we've had in the past, because I did it for a year or two, you want one of us to go to their meetings and then report back if there's anything significant that goes on at their meetings, so they don't have to. We could do something like that too.
But sometimes that interpretation is.
Right.
Tammy's always close.
Tammy's close.
And really, you know, we sometimes need to do that more, just to have you come and give us a
If anything, meet in the fall, the majority of all your waterboard projects are done in the 6 months from May till November.
They're never done.
Well, they're never done. But, you know,
That we'll have to have a
you
conversation
know.
about culverts again. We'll get a list put together of what's gonna be next. And
Okay.
priority list.
our 3-year plan is, we've replaced most of them already in that 3-year plan that we gave you, 3 years ago. But, there'll be more, unfortunately. So, Okay?
Thank you.
Yep, thank you guys.
Yep.
You guys got 2 minutes, cause I have
Thanks
one
for the
question
maps,
for you in
Stan.
Tammy's office.
You're welcome.
Unrelated to
First bill's
this.
not on there, but
I know you guys got things to do,
Yeah.
but I got
Be nice to
an
have.
interesting question was brought to me.
They're not exact.
Okay, anybody need a little break besides me?
Go ahead.
I might go too.
We don't have a lot left, do we?
Well, Sam, you can start with the capital there.
Oh, day of the capital review? Yeah. You know, the positives and negatives was, we found out some interesting things. If you're, I don't know how familiar you are with the legislature or not, but if you think that everybody's a Republican down there, or the vast majority is, which they are, you would think they would all be more cohesive than they are in the House versus the Senate. We heard a lot of almost animosity of the Senate versus the House. And here was an example, okay? The House passed that we do not have daylight savings time. That's passed now.
It is.
You know that. Nobody knows that. You know that.
That both parties did that?
The
Both
House
House and Senate?
of Rep, no, now it has to go to the
Yeah,
Senate.
yeah, yeah.
But talking to senators, it doesn't have a snowball's chance
Right.
of passing.
Right.
And they cannot believe how the House passed it. You know, and you almost heard derogatory remarks about, I don't know what they're doing over there. And anyway, so there's some discourse between the House and the Senate in a variety of bills, okay? We learned that. There was a panel that talked about property tax reductions, and I'm sure you've heard Armstrong has proposed last year for primary residence it was $500. He's proposing $1,500. This Hetland was from Montpelier, who has a lot of clout, who's very articulate in speaking, preferred like an 80-20 scenario up to $2,000. So what did he say, Doc? At $1,500 credit, there'll be $60,000 or 60,000 homes, right?
Houses, yeah.
60,000 houses that won't pay any taxes at all in
Right
the
now,
state.
there's 30,000 with 500.
Right.
And then it'll go to 60,000, and he got into this political discourse about historically, if you look at people getting something for nothing, that just doesn't work very well. He'd rather have a 20-80 split. In other words, at $2,000, if your bill is only $400, you'd only get credit on 80% of that. Everybody would still pay something. So they're haggling about, not haggling, but it doesn't pay to guess as to what's going to happen there. Something will happen, but that invariably will go to conference because the House and the Senate will have different versions that they pass.
And if I might add to that a little bit, the one with the cap could hurt rural areas like us. Because if there's a cap, we can't go beyond.
Well, they spoke a lot about that. If the state's going to give political subdivisions like us money like this, there's got to be some skin in the game, and they'll cap expenditures at 3%.
And that's
what Doc's talking.
That's where the reform part comes in.
And they were all in agreement to that, all four of them guys, that there will be a cap if they increase this credit. So that can run into rural areas, because if you're a Bismarck, okay, you got a 3% cap, you can just raise a half-cent sales tax. Can't do that in Wells County. I mean, you don't have the ability to raise and enhance revenues in other ways like they would in a bigger city.
And I guess it'd be counties more so than anything that would be
Right.
affected, yeah.
Correct.
So, when they're gonna eventually hash this out in the end, will they actually compromise? Will they actually come up with something, do you think? Or is this just gonna be a...
Oh, no, they'll come up with something.
There'll be something. I believe there will.
And I think the
don't know, I haven't
minimum would
looked
be the
at-
1,500.
I haven't looked that close lately, but I think Robin's deal is probably the best thing for our area.
Robin's deal enhances, right now, residential credits. Farmers don't get anything because they're
No, his would
residential.
include,
Would increase. His would include farmland.
Yeah.
I think, he didn't mention it yesterday, but his is way more expensive. I think
it is,
Expensive to the state?
it's expensive to the state.
yeah.
Yes.
It includes
But
all
it-
the land.
It includes all the land,
It
right?
includes more people.
Right. And to finish up the county thing, we listened to a guy from the North Dakota Insurance Reserve Fund. That was brutal. I mean, let's be honest. He talked about everything they provide, and he was a very good speaker, but, listen to a guy for half an hour talk about insurance claims and what North Dakota Insurance provides. That was tough to listen
What
to.
is our premium for that every year? You know? Norfolk?
Well, the truth of the matter is they're an indisposable service to political subdivisions.
No question.
We could
Absolutely.
never afford commercial
Correct.
insurance on
Oh,
our
yeah.
properties. And so it's basically a dime on the dollar, but you know what, when something happens to one of your buildings,
Right.
they cover a dime on the dollar, okay? And we're all in a shared game here, because we're a pooled insurance group with all
Right.
public entities. And
No, I didn't mean to minimize the importance. I'm just saying
It's,
that.
it's a huge deal, but we don't have to go back 24 months. And that group was just getting hammered in the legislature because they weren't doing their job. The story they told about cities and counties or whatever not covering the damage they do is real. I'm one of those people. Okay, when the water pipes broke up by Barry Beekler's house, it cost me 50 grand. Okay, and I went to the city of Harvey. And the city of Harvey turned me over to their insurance group, which is the same ones that insure us. And they said, well, not our problem.
Really?
And I could see the water coming out the street up there. And
Typical
so I did all this
crap.
work, including drain tile around my house, and you know how much water's been in my drain tile since they fixed that?
None.
None, zero. Okay, $50,000 it cost Dan Stutling because their insurance wouldn't cover it.
Really?
Yeah. So, yeah, it was in the last legislative session. They were just getting torn apart. Okay, but I also work for the county and I understand the value of the service that they provide
Oh, no,
because
no question.
we couldn't be insured
No.
without them.
But cities don't do their jobs when it comes to hooking up the water. My mom had water coming in her basement, okay? I put 3 sump pumps in there, okay? Still couldn't stop the water. What ended up happening was a house north of her that they came through her property and hooked up to the water main. Okay, that pipe got broke when they put it in. Okay, so her house insurance should have covered anything. She never had insurance. She got hooked up to the water without the city doing it. Okay, so now let's just fast forward what happened. Pretty soon they shut it off, and of course this lady's got no water. They had my mother put a hose out of her faucet over to that lady's house. So that lady had water after they wrecked her basement. Secondly, it's got cold. And the city told my mom, we're just going to let the water run so the hose doesn't freeze. So in the essence, at the end of the game, the city would not talk to any of us. That disaffected my mother. They finally dug a line somewhere else. And I don't know how the lady got her water hooked up, but that should have never happened because if she would have had insurance, it would have been taken care of. Somebody wasn't watching. And so these things happen, like he's talking about. These things do happen.
Insurances are insurances.
But here was the city didn't require the insurance.
Yeah.
It's like the guy driving a car that doesn't have insurance.
Yeah, I know.
Even if you got insurance, they're not bashful when it comes to getting your premium, but you're
Right.
trying to collect, so. So anyway, anything else you want?
Well, the other little disappointing was the House, again, the Senate was complaining that the House is always behind in doing their work. So the House, after this, from 5 to 7, all the congressional people were supposed to meet with all of us.
Right.
And there were some senators there, but the House was still in session. The House, I don't know when they got out. They went into the
It
evening,
had to be later that night, yeah.
so there were no House members there. Jerry Klein was there. Actually, there weren't a lot of senators there either, but there were some.
Yeah.
But Jerry was good, and we visited with him.
The House majority leaders and the Senate majority leaders were both there.
They were both there.